Hi, welcome to China Insights with Jenny. Last week, the Chinese Communist Party announced that its 20th National Congress will be held on October 16th. Then, right after that, the former Soviet Communist Party General Secretary, Mikhail Gorbachev, passed away. In the hands of Gorbachev, the Soviet Communist Party disintegrated. On the eve of the 20th National Congress of the CCP, the death of such a person raises deep and troubling questions for the CCP. Everyone will be asking these questions. Will the CCP follow the fate of the Soviet Union? Is there a figure like Gorbachev in today's CCP? What caused the fall of the Soviet Union? What are the similarities between today's CCP and the Soviet Union back then? If we take history as a mirror, we would know the reasons behind the rise and the fall of regimes and dynasties. Looking into the path of Gorbachev and the disintegration of the Soviet Union, what can we learn about Xi Jinping and the CCP's fate? When Xi Jinping visited the southern China in 2012, referring to the collapse of the Soviet Union Communist Party, he said, "Nobody was a real man. Nobody came out to resist." This expression is very important, albeit laughable. What constitutes a real man? Who can be counted as a real man? Saving the wicked party is called a real man's act, or is working for the well-being of the people considered a real man's act? This is actually pretty self-explanatory. But the important thing is that he seems to make it his mission to protect the party and ties himself to the CCP. On the other hand, when Gorbachev was interviewed by the UK media The Guardian in 2011, he said without hesitation, "I should have abandoned the Communist Party earlier." He believed that he should have resigned as General Secretary in April 1991 and formed a democratic party back then, since the Communist Party cannot truly be reformed. Based on the latest declassified files of the United States, Sahi Plokey, a professor at Harvard University, wrote the book The Collapse of the Great Powers, Before and After the Disintegration of the Soviet Union. In the book, he wrote about a conversation between Yeltsin and Gorbachev. Gorbachev said about the top leaders of the Soviet Union Communist Party, he said, "They only focus on their own interests. They don't want anything but money and power." Yeltsin said to Gorbachev, "Leave them. You are the president. You see what's going on with this party. In fact, you are a hostage, a scapegoat." But Gorbachev hesitated. He said, "You think I don't understand? I understand. But I can't let this dirty dog break free, or the whole machine would turn against me." This dialogue shows that Gorbachev also recognized the major problems of the Communist Party system, this machine. But still, he had the illusion that he could control this evil system. But a few months later, in August 1991, the so-called 8/19 coup occurred. The stubborn forces within the Soviet Union Communist Party system tried to abolish Gorbachev, and the effort led to the disintegration of the Soviet Union Communist Party. We will call it CPSU. Now, of course, when Gorbachev started his reforms, he did not mean to abolish the Communist Party, but rather to reform the Communist Party. He believed the Communist Party could be reformed because he did not recognize the true nature of the party. As long as things are moving toward goodness, the Communist Party will perish, because the good and the evil cannot coexist. As goodness grows, evil will be eliminated. Fortunately, there was no one above Gorbachev who could stop his reforms, and because the humanity in Gorbachev, rather than the party spirit, prevailed, he did not suppress those who opposed the communist system. Then that allowed the growth of positive forces and finally defeated evil. So many incidents happened one after another at that time, and then the CPSU just collapsed and disintegrated. This is what Chinese call 天象, or celestial phenomenon. Gorbachev realized that he should have abandoned the Communist Party earlier. For Xi Jinping, well, a similar thing happened to him, that at some point in the future, looking back, he would regret, I should have abandoned the Chinese Communist Party earlier. Can he draw such a lesson from Gorbachev's experience? At present, it seems that he has learned the opposite lesson. He regrets that no real man stood up to save the party. However, just like the hardcore communists in the Soviet communist system trying to bring the CPSU back to the old path of Stalin and Lenin, the result was instead the disintegration of the CPSU. What Xi Jinping is doing today, including trying to reverse the CCP in China to the ideology and social state of the Mao era, these actions are likely to accelerate and lead to the disintegration of the CCP. The CCP will disintegrate one way or another. Sometimes history is like this. If the CCP has reached its end, then the effort to prolong its life is exactly the driving force behind its accelerated death. Now, a few days ago, I saw a poem called Waiting for the Wind to Come by independent writer Hu Minzhi. She posted this on Twitter, on the social media. It spread widely on China's social network, so widely that it eventually got deleted by the censorship department from the entire China domestic internet. Now, what does this poem say? Let me read it to you. More than 1 billion people are waiting for the wind, and the direction of the wind is the direction of the country. Officials are waiting, entrepreneurs are waiting, and ordinary people are waiting for the wind to blow in this autumn. Is it east wind or west wind? Is it south wind or north wind? Is it the forward wind or the backward wind? Everyone stopped and waited anxiously, like poor puppets waiting for the judgment of fate. How absurd it is to pin the fate of the country on the ever-changing wind direction. Now, why does that poem resonate with Chinese people so much? Because it indeed reflects what's in most Chinese people's minds these days. Everyone agrees, yes, now everyone is waiting for the wind, lying low. It's really ridiculous that 1 billion people are waiting. This is far more absurd than the situation in the Soviet Union back then. So what are people waiting for? They're waiting to see if Xi gets a third term at the 20th National Congress. Why are they waiting? Because they feel that they cannot continue to live like this. People don't have a normal life in China nowadays. Every city could be locked down due to a few infected cases. People lose economic safety as the houses they're buying can never be built, yet they still have to continue to pay the mortgage. Sometimes they cannot take money out of banks. They also lost a sense of personal safety. When a few young women were beaten heavily by a group of guns in Tangshan City, Hebei province, nobody dared to go up to defend them. People from outside cannot tell the true situation of China today, yet people from inside all have a feeling of devastation. However, does it make any difference whether Xi Jinping continues in power or not? Many people may think that if Xi Jinping gets a third term, there will be no hope, and the country will be closed down, and everyone will return to the poverty of the Mao era. But is there a true difference? Will there be no such incidents as the Iron Chain Girl or the beating of the women in Tangshan City, Hebei province? Will unfinished building bank frauds be avoided? Under the CCP regime, the country is in really bad shape and morality has completely collapsed. Replacing Xi Jinping would not solve any problem. If the CCP is still in power, no one will have a good life. Suppression, arrest, persecution, and even forced live organ harvesting. All of these happened before Xi Jinping came to power. So I really feel that there's no need to wait and no need to place any hope on the regime. Well, that was a few of my thoughts today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.